Alrighty then. That was interesting. The countdown reset itself at the end. I had that happen recently a couple times. I was going on with it. But anyway, we're on episode 20 of the podcast. Hello everyone. Spoon is with me. He just got out of his class or group work. I don't know what it was specifically. How are you doing other than that?
Yeah, no, our after class discussion group ran a little bit long today, so I was in a bit of a rush, but
Sure.
otherwise everything's fine.
Sure. Okay. Let's for today's intro, I'm not going to show any screens or anything like that. Um the intro today is just going to be, for those of you that see these videos and happen to stop by the Twitch stream, thank you for supporting us. We really appreciate it. Things are kind of slow. We talked about it last week and previous weeks on our end. However, I can give some better updates on that actually. I had some more information regarding my classes on Monday and my schedules. So I can talk about that a bit in regards to what potential streams could be happening on this channel in the future. Um, so let me just give, for me personally, and then Spoon, obviously, I'll sort of pass the ball to you on this. For me, on Monday, our instructor for that class and what I would guess is my other class will probably have this conversation. So I have one more official class for my Monday class. Not next week. We actually get a week off because of my school is doing this thing where we didn't get a spring break or anything, so they're giving us 2 weeks of break from one particular class. And I already had that before. And next Monday I will not be having class for one of my classes. And so the after that, the 19th is my final class. So my last assignment needs to be turned in on Monday, even though I don't have class, and that's it. I have no more homework for one of my classes. My other class, I imagine I'll have a couple more assignments. So my hope is that potentially coming on the podcast stream on Monday because I don't have class. So that is my plan to come on the podcast stream Monday. I don't 100% know what I'm doing. I'll try and give a better idea of that once we get there. But that's going to be happening. And then given that my schedule is opening up for time because my classes are winding down and I only have one final, I'm hoping that I can come on at least once a week starting next week and picking up some time. In particular, once my classes do end, that Monday slot's a really great slot for me because during the summer I'm only taking one class in the summer and I don't think it's on Mondays. So that's my plan. I don't know what I'm playing. I'm open to reasonable suggestion. I talked about Minecraft just because we have the server, but open to other suggestions. One thing I was thinking about actually is if anybody's interested in joining me on Monday, like Tricourage, for example, we could do some StarCraft co-op. I just reinstalled StarCraft 2. We could do some StarCraft 2 co-op. I just reinstalled that. Otherwise, I also reinstalled HOTS, so I was considering playing a couple games maybe on the podcast stream as well as that. So we'll see. But that's my personal end for podcast streams. We obviously Spoon and I've talked about it. We want to bring them back. It's just our classes ramped up pretty heavily when Spoon started his in the middle of my class. That they really ramped up at some point, last month and a half ago. So that's that. And I'll talk about movie night in a bit. But Spoon, do you want to shed any extra light? Obviously, you're still doing your classes. I don't know. I forgot when they ended. Do you know when your classes are going to end for the given term?
Yeah, they end end of June.
Okay, so you still got some. You still got a
Yeah,
couple months.
we
You still got a
didn't we
couple.
didn't start until February 20 something.
Sure,
So and it's like a 4 month term, so it's
got it.
it's like June 20th or somewhere around there.
Understood. Okay.
Um, so I've still got another 2.5 months
Okay.
basically. Um, and yeah, I don't anticipate myself streaming very much on the podcast, other than obviously the
The
podcasts
actual episodes. Yeah.
on Wednesdays because I just I just don't have time, and if I do have extra time, I usually don't feel like streaming, I'm gonna be honest. So,
I mean,
and I don't have a game right now that I really want to play on the podcast channel.
sure.
So
Well, we're doing Outriders anyway on the time that you do have, so we've been playing a lot of Outriders.
yeah, and like on my off days when I do have a little bit of downtime, or even, I've had a couple of days where I'm thinking, oh, maybe, Fridays I could stream, and when I'm done with class at like 4 or so, and it gets to there, and I'm just like,
You're just tired,
I don't want to stream. I don't
dude. I
stream
get,
right now. I'm just not gonna
I
do
get
it.
it. Completely get it. Completely get it, dude. Some days you just get burned from class or homework. Yeah, completely get it. It's it's an interesting, it's interesting. So I Spoon won't be streaming, more than likely streaming for the next couple months, but I'll hold down the fort on that for sure. Mondays is what I'm looking at for the future, just because again the 19th is my last class, officially speaking. There's apparently like a half class that follow, the what would it be, the 26th. Let me look at that. Yeah, the 26th. The professor said it would be like a half class. I don't know what that means, but it's probably a class where I could just not care at all about, really paying attention or preparing for. So that's Monday. Again, Mondays next week. Try, if you're available, you should let me know. We can play some co-op. I'll talk to Hectic too. I know they have practice, but I'll mention it to Hectic too. I want to play. And if that kind of falls through, I'll do something else like HOTS or something. I don't know. I'll figure something out. The movie night, the last kind of update for movie night. So movie night this weekend got a slightly complicated. Sunday has been scheduled for our college group's Dungeons and Dragons. So I can't even say confidently how long your brother will run that for. But if we do Sunday, it's kind of a complicated time slot, because if it's like a 3.5 or so hour session, it's kind of hard to do Infinity War, because Infinity War is a pretty long movie, and you usually do dinner at 6. So
Yeah. Also, honestly, this weekend is bad for me specifically. I have
oh,
an exam. I have an exam next Friday, so
okay. So okay, so that complicates things further, because yeah, the Avengers thing was mostly because you hadn't seen Endgame. So okay, we'll refigure that out then. Maybe
yeah.
we'll
I mean,
we'll skip
maybe
a
you want to
bit
do
of
it.
week.
Maybe you want to do a different movie that I don't care about so much, or
I could
I
do
don't
a
know. I mean,
different movie.
I've seen Infinity War. I mean, it would be nice to see them both
Sure,
back to back. I agree with you, but I have seen Infinity War,
sure.
so
Okay,
um,
I think the other movie that got voted on, I don't even remember. We didn't get many votes on it. I wish I could look through Discord, but I'd screw up the whole thing. But the poll, I actually think the Godzilla movie got the vote. I think it was like
look at it
the
for you.
Justice League movie got nothing. There was only like 4 votes, so you take it the way you want. But
Yeah,
the Avengers got several
yeah.
votes.
Avengers had 3 votes, and Godzilla had 1.
Okay, we're watching. Then we'll watch Godzilla this weekend. Which, by the way, it's a really enjoyable movie for the last 45 minutes. The first 45 minutes, just to give like non-spoiler, like if you've seen any of the movies linked in the recent like MonsterVerse, there's only like 4 of them, but usually it's a recurring thing. All the monster movies I've seen, and I used to be like a pretty big Godzilla fan. Anytime people are on the screen, they're either evil or they're boring as hell. So the first 45 minutes of the new movie is just the people. So it's boring as hell. It's just so boring. But then you get to the last 45 minutes where things they're actually fighting, and that's good. That's a good part. That's good. Much better than the first like people. It's so funny. It's just like super boring. They're talking. They're like trying to do their thing, and you just like you know what's gonna happen. And then the monsters finally fight. You're like, oh, thank God. Whew. But so patient. You can basically show up 45 minutes in, and you'll have missed nothing. I'm not even joking. The first 45 minutes with the convoluted people stuff, the story, it's like, it's not convoluted. It's just like ridiculous. And it's so funny watching this movie by comparison to the Godzilla movie in 2014. Like, watching these two movies is like the weirdest thing ever. It's just like totally weird. They've got like they're like the ships that they have. They like went futuristic with the ships. It's just like so weird. The 2014 movie was so grounded in reality, to a certain extent, besides the giant lizard. But this one, they now have like Tron-esque spaceship things going on. I'm like, what happened? What are we doing? How'd this get here? We'll do that this weekend. If either Saturday or Sunday, I'll try and nail that down specifically. Tomorrow hopefully, but Saturday or Sunday, probably late afternoon is what we're looking at. If it's Sunday, definitely past 4 p.m. Pacific time. If it's Saturday, probably the same thing, past 4 p.m. Pacific time. So if anybody's interested in the Godzilla movie, I'll hang out. I'll be watching it in the Discord regardless of if anybody joins or not. I'll just be hanging out in there. If it's just me in there, I mean, that's whatever. I'll just like watch it on a side screen and play like a game at the same time or something. So if anybody's interested in watching that, it is a fun movie. It's a fun movie to watch though. So that's the movie night update. So I think let's move on. Unless I'm missing anything, Spoon, is there anything else you want to add on to all this? I don't want to like move ahead at all if you had other things to add.
No, I don't think so. I think we're good.
Okay. So let's move to a bit of news related information. Let me think. Okay. So not a lot of news for us this week. I had 3 articles that I found. I have, I guess, like a side comment. I don't really want to get into the news of all that, but there wasn't like some stuff that happened on Twitter this week. I think I mentioned it to you, Spoon, specifically regarding Genshin Impact. There was some stuff that happened. People were freaking out on Twitter. But this is this first article relates to loot boxes. There was some new research done. So here, I'll just read the first paragraph here. I don't know if I put this in the Discord. If I didn't, I'll put it in Twitch for now, or Spoon, you can also pop it into the Discord server. I don't know if I put it there. So there was research conducted at universities of Plymouth and Wolverhampton, and you're pretty sure it's, I just want, okay, then now we're doubly sure that it is. But the research conducted found many different, I would say, many outcomes regarding its research in regard to behaviors and how players engage with loot boxes. Let's just go with that. So they sort of define how a loot box is, so we'll skip that. I think everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say loot box. But here are some of the outcomes or the behaviors that were found. Of the 93% of children who play video games, 40% opened a loot box. So that's not necessarily like a big thing in this study, but 5% of players, and this is in regards to who are interacting with games with loot boxes, generate half the entire revenue. So I'm actually not surprised at that personally, because that's how mobile gaming works.
Whales.
So, yeah, whales. So whales generate, a decent chunk. Is putting it gently of the revenue for loot boxes, which is again, if you're familiar with how mobile gaming works, that's actually pretty much how mobile gaming is. 12 out of the 13 studies in the topic established unambiguous connections to problem gambling behavior, which, again, is very telling. Young men are the most likely to use loot boxes, with young age and lower education correlating with increased uses. So, I'm not sure if I'm surprised or not at that. I don't think that that's too surprising, because people are just, if you don't know, or you're not educated on it, or you're not considering all the different probability factors within loot boxes, you may be more inclined to purchase them because they're more exciting, and you're foregoing the knowledge that you would have if you had examined and researched what like all the outcomes that could come from getting a loot box. Like I'm not super surprised that would be the case. I'm just it is very telling though that is the case, in that the people that may not, this is specifically, I don't know if it's knowingly targeted at this group, but if that is the case, it's really disturbing that they're like, oh, we know that people of younger ages and lower education buy loot boxes, we should try and target it there. That would be disconcerting if that was true. We can't prove it's true though yet. So the information in this article, it's just the research was just specifically on loot boxes. Already described some of the outcomes. Talking about spending, the spending can be $100 a month on the loot boxes, but the thing is that when they conducted this research, it's not necessarily the wealthy people that are doing this. There are people who are potentially living paycheck to paycheck that are doing this, which again, it's a bit telling that is the case. But I'll just read this quote for this, just to sort of add on to that. Our research therefore demonstrates that games developers, unwittingly or not, appear to be generating outsized loot box profit from at-risk individuals. These are likely to include both people with gambling problems or problematic patterns of video gaming, but not from wealthy gamers. Okay, so that quote, I'm sure, is pretty telling in that regard. I'm just trying to go through and grab anything else that. So the last point that I noticed in here was there was a spokesman for the games industry body that explained that companies have been taking action, which I mean, sure, they have, but Omega lol. Probability disclosure has already been introduced to the major game platforms. A new paid random item descriptor was also added to PEGI age rating system to inform players of their presence in games. Settings and tools on all major game devices and in a number of leading games already allow players to manage, limit, or turn off spend. Okay. Like,
yes, protections are in place, but many people either don't know they're there or don't know how to use them, or
don't turn them on.
Or don't turn them on because it's a gambling addiction, and when you want to spin the wheel, you spin the wheel because you have a gambling addiction. It's not like, come on.
It's ridiculous. Like it's nothing. It's nothing. It's a smokescreen on this one. It's like, okay, if you are a problem gambler, are you really going to turn it on? Are you really going to turn on the limitations?
And I'm sure you absolutely have to dig through menus in order to find those things.
Oh, I'm sure.
There is no way that's front and center. Like, hey, welcome to FIFA. You can spend all your money on loot boxes, or you can turn on a limit so you don't spend all your money on loot boxes. Wink, wink. Yeah, right. Give me a break. You're going to have to dig through the menus to find that crap. Come on. You have to go look for it if you want to find it.
Right. I will zoom in on something here. The authors of this research, they had some recommendations. One of which I wanted to highlight because I do think it's a good idea. I wish they would. They'll never do it because that would be that wouldn't make sense. But the odds of winning items be clearly shown, including the average cost of enough boxes to obtain a rare item. Now, no game developer that is leveraging loot boxes as like the majority of their profits is ever going to do that.
No.
But that would be a positive solution to trying to prevent.
Just like in a casino, these they problems will never tell you in the slot. You can see the rates, but they'll never tell you it takes X amount of spins or X amount of dollars in order to win.
Yeah, they'll never do that.
They would never do that.
they'll never do that
unless they were actually required to, which
right.
they won't be required
Which,
to.
of course, they are. Yeah. So I'm not surprised at this research and the outcomes of this research. I do think a lot of these things just sort of reinforce the problems that can come from loot boxes when they're present in these games. But it's unless serious action is taken and serious notice also is taken by people who can take action and make things these things, limitations on these things go into place or regulate it. They're not gonna go away. I mean, US. We're speaking specifically about the US. In other places, there are limitations being put on to loot boxes, which is good. But in the US, I sincerely doubt in the US there will be, unless something very disturbing comes out, or there has to be like a very serious action to cause anybody to really take a magnifying glass to this.
There are plenty of issues that are, to be honest, far more important than this in the US, and that have had far more disturbing consequences for hundreds of years.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying this is a good thing, but I'm saying things like healthcare and gun control need to be addressed before this.
Well, okay, obviously, but the point I was going to specifically make was like this loot box regulations will never go in place because the magnifying glass isn't on it here in the US.
No,
that's what my point.
it's not.
Of course, there's other problems that should be solved. If we're going to go down that road, I don't know, homelessness, food. We could go down that road if we wanted to.
There's a lot.
That's a rabbit hole. But
yeah, there's going to be needs. The gaming companies and the whatever, they're never going to impose their own oversight on this. There's going to need to be basically government or law intervention, like deeming this as gambling, basically, and that
right.
they would have to be regulated as gambling is.
Right. Which, again, it's going to be tough to ever get that in place here. So, again, good research. I think it reinforces these problems. It's good that these things are conducted. Obviously, when you read through it, there are parts of this that are disturbing, and I thought personally it would be good to have this be in the podcast. So that was the article. That was it. That was the end of the article for all that. This, by the way, this was more of a summation. Obviously, the actual research was, far more expansive. I imagine there's more information in it, but this was the TLDR article for that for this. So, anything to add? Otherwise, we'll go to baseball stuff.
Loot boxes still suck.
There you
That's
go.
it.
Very simple. Okay, baseball. So, starting with the MLB The Show. So, the MLB The Show was PlayStation exclusive since, well, as long as I've known the game to exist.
As long as it's existed.
Yeah.
Which is it's like about 15 years or so at this point, I think.
Yeah, been quite some time. And now it's coming to Game Pass. Xbox Game Pass. So, I don't know if MLB The Show is the predominantly played baseball game, but I do know that it's
the only one that still exists. 2K
oh, really?
2K used to exist, but they stopped making it. I don't know. I want to say around 2015 or so. 2K stopped making MLB 2K.
Okay, so the show is the main line.
It's the primary baseball. There's like mobile games. There's like RBI baseball and like these other garbage like mobile games, but this is the only AAA baseball sim on the market.
Okay, so it was PlayStation exclusive for the longest for some time, and now it's no longer that. It is coming to Xbox for the first time and will be on Game Pass. I don't really play baseball games. I think I played it once, and I imagine it's a pretty fun game as a baseball sim. I know you've played it. I mean, like, it seems like this is a big deal considering it was PlayStation exclusive for a long time, and it's the main baseball game to be played. So big. This is a big deal. And again, I don't play it, so I have nothing further to add on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's what you expect. It's a baseball sim. It's, if you like baseball and you want to play a baseball video game, this is where it's at. This is the only one and the best one on the market. Um, it's pretty solid from what I've played. It suffers from the same issues that most other sports game does. I wouldn't say it's not as buggy or as terrible as like something
Sure.
like Madden is, I would say, but you know, it's still it's a sports game. They recycle the same crap every single year. They have their Diamond Dynasty mode, which is their equivalent of Ultimate Team. They have their card pack mode. I
Yep.
obviously have not delved into that. I've played that mode a bit, but I never played it enough to care about, you know, getting packs and I would never buy packs for a mode
Yeah.
like that because it's stupid. Um, but they do have that mode, and then there's your usual suspects franchise mode, create a player mode, play now,
I think
the usual.
the creative player mode and in this actually is pretty. It's pretty nice, just because when your character actually gets to go at bat, you can just sort of like skip everything else. You can just sim to whenever your player gets at bat.
Yeah, it depends what kind of player you play as. If you're playing a position player, yeah, basically the game just skips everything that your player is not involved in. So
Mhm.
if you are getting a play in the field, if the ball is being hit at you in the field, then you're gonna play that one play in the field
Right.
and see if you can make the play. And when you get an at bat, you play your at bat, and if you get on base after your at bat, you have to run the bases. Um, but other
Mm.
than that, yeah, it sims the rest of the game basically. And yeah, the my player mode in that, it's called Road to the Show, and it's you start in the minor leagues. You usually start in Double A, and then you can work your way up to Triple A, and
Yeah,
then
you're AAA and then
into the
majors.
majors.
Yep.
So yeah, I do like the my player mode in these games. In franchise mode is what you'd expect.
Sure.
Pick your favorite team and run a franchise. They do allow options to like shorten the schedule basically, so you don't have to play the 162 game
Yeah, that's a
season
lot.
for every season. You can shorten the schedule to, I don't know, like 50 games or some, maybe even less than that. I'm not sure,
Right.
but I know there are ways to shorten the schedule. I think there's one where you only play like one game in every series, basically.
Oh, okay.
So like if you would play a 3-game series with a team, usually in the 162 game set schedule, that mode you would just play one game out of those three and then
I
move on to
see.
the
And then
next
you
one.
just move on. Okay.
So yeah, there are ways to shorten that because yeah, 162 games is a heck of a lot for a
Yeah,
franchise
that's a
mode.
season.
Yeah. When if especially if you're playing every game and playing the entire game, each game takes about an hour, I would say, usually, at least at the rate that I play it.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, that's a long time to get through one season if you played all 162, and then assuming your team is good enough, made the playoffs, and had to play another, I don't know, 20 games in the playoffs or
Yeah,
something like
whatever
that.
whatever X number of games you play.
That's like 200 hours for one for one season in franchise mode.
That's a lot. Yeah, I don't know. No. It's not it's just too much. So, but yeah,
Um,
this is yeah.
but
Go ahead.
yeah, it's big for Microsoft. Actually, there was I don't know if I call it a follow up, but there was another article about this that I saw. I think it was today. It was this morning. I didn't post it, but apparently the reason that Microsoft got MLB The Show wasn't because anything Microsoft did. Apparently, the MLB told Sony like, "Hey, you got to give this to Xbox. Like, we're not going to let this be exclusive anymore."
That's the right thing to do if you're the MLB. It's
It
the
was the
right
ML.
thing to
It was an
do.
M. There's Game Pass, by the way, as of January this year, has 18 million subscribers. That's 18 million more people that could possibly play the MLB is trying to expand their brand. That's what they're trying to do.
Of course. And it's the right thing to do if you're the MLB. It's the absolute right thing to do. And
Yeah. The
it's
MLB
you
is like, yeah, Sony, we're not giving you exclusive rights to our
funny.
property
Yeah, you
anymore.
can't. Yeah,
You're gonna give this to Xbox and just let them do what they want with it.
yeah,
That's
of
too bad.
course. It's just like makes no sense. It makes no sense that This is, by the way, a good ad for Game Pass. Actually, this game is a good add-on for Game
Yeah, it's
Pass.
huge.
It's very good. Like, I will say, sports games going on Game Pass like this, or PlayStation's equivalent, those are great. Just because you can like you could dive in for however long you really want. Sports games have like a certain lifespan that they become like worth playing. I will say, like you can maybe do like one season, or you can do a couple, like one major franchise run, or one my player for a couple seasons, and then you're done. You can just tie it off and move on. Like, this is very good stuff for Game Pass. I think it's like sports games are good for these subscriptions too. You can just sort of dip your feet in and just go at it. And it's something you can play with the subscription for long periods of time, even afterwards. Like, unlike something like, for example, Gears of War, which if you only play the campaign, it's got like a set campaign length, and then that's it.
Yeah. And you also, if you have Game Pass, you don't have to pay $60 every year buying the same game every
Exactly.
single year. You know,
It makes a ton of sense.
You just have Game Pass, or maybe you just, oh, I want to play MLB The Show every year because I like baseball, and I just want to play it for like a month or two. So if I just want that, I'll sign up for Game Pass for a month or two around the time it comes out, and then
move on.
it.
Yeah, just move on. Like,
Um,
good. Yeah, no, this is a good thing. I think sports games for this stuff works pretty well.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, this was just a story because, again, this game has been a PlayStation exclusive for the better part of 15 years.
It says 2006 is when it first released for the
so
PlayStation 2. Yeah,
15 years is right on target, actually.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just, Sony has, and this, again, 2K existed for a while until about the mid 2010s when 2K decided they didn't want to make baseball sims anymore. I don't know why. Maybe it just wasn't profitable for them, probably. Um, and this became the only one. But even before that, like, the show was a much better game than the 2K games were. I played the 2K games. They were fine. They were fun for what they were, but the show was better
Okay.
whenever I played it.
That's
So
probably another reason why 2K stopped. They're just like, okay, we're not catching up. It's not worth the investment.
yeah.
Okay. Any other stuff to add on before going to the All Star Game moving with? Well, the All Star Game was supposed to be in Georgia. I wish I'd followed along as much as this, but it was supposed to be in Georgia, right?
Yeah, Atlanta.
Atlanta. Yep, makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, for the Braves.
Yep.
The Braves have a relatively new stadium as well,
and that's probably why they did it. Yep. Okay. I was. Should we move on, or do you have anything else?
Yep,
Okay.
we can move on.
Okay.
I don't have anything else to add to this. It was just not another big. It just feels like every week we're getting new Game Pass. Like, Microsoft's coming out with a new Game Pass like game or exclusive or whatever, and then Microsoft's just killing it right now with Game Pass. That's all I'll say, and we talk about that all the time.
Yep. Okay. So I heard about this announcement. I didn't dig into it personally, but I had heard this when this had happened. So this was they as we just discussed, the All Star Game was planned to be in Atlanta.
Yep, this year,
and
2021.
There was a new Georgia law that was introduced, which I don't have all the information of that law, but I'd heard all about this when this was happening, like as it was happening. Do you have the the description of what was introduced, this new Georgia law? Do you happen to have the description on hand?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Have the specifics. I'll be honest, it's a pretty standard Republican voter suppression law. They want it to make it harder for people to vote.
Right. Let's see if we can grab a couple things from this. I just want to make sure. It was passed and signed. Let me make sure. Okay. So there's a couple things that appear to be occurring in this. I'm just going to try and go through the article as best I can. In writing the bill, there was some debate regarding banning Sunday voting, and let's see here. It contains new restrictions on absentee voting, while at the same time expanding early voting opportunities. The law does. Okay, here we go. Early voting expands. ID is now required not just for in-person voting, but also for mail-in voting, which can be difficult for people. That restriction right there can be difficult for people. There's already some information right down here that I'm going to highlight. Opposed by voting rights groups who point to some studies that show that voter ID requirements tend to disproportionately affect voters of color. So, again, I've heard about this issue, and it's like requiring ID for in-person voting and also mail-in voting, which is weird. It definitely affects certain groups. Looks like there's again more voting changes for absentee voting. Let's see. Food and drink distribution to voters in line by non-poll workers is banned, but self-service water stands are allowed. What? Why? Okay, I'm just trying to find some other things in here. Okay. It seems like I'm getting the sense there's a couple things in here that are probably the most controversial. I think the ID thing would be very controversial.
Yeah, the ID thing and the one about like not being able to give person water in line. Like,
That's
it's the
ridiculous.
stupidest.
That's the dumbest thing I've
stupidest
ever seen. Okay, but this law was passed, and was
Yeah.
it passed? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
No.
It was
It was signed
signed.
by the It was signed by the governor.
Oh, it was signed by the governor. Okay, so signed by the governor. Got it.
I mean, I suppose I don't know the specifics. I don't know how Georgia law works, but I suppose somebody could like take to the Supreme Court and
You
see
could.
if they would deem it unconstitutional. But
That would be
fat chance of that happening.
that would have to be the next one of the
Yeah.
the next step, unless there's something else we're missing. But so this occurred. Okay, we got a little bit of background. Good to get the background because even I didn't know all the details personally. I just knew that this was happening specifically. That the All Star Game was supposed to be in Atlanta and it's moving. So let's see here. Do you want to go through this one or
I mean, it's basically the commissioner said that he opposes this new voting law and thus is going to punish the Atlanta Braves and the state of Georgia and take the All Star Game away from them and go somewhere else. And it was actually confirmed a day or two ago. It's moving to Colorado, Denver. So it's going to be at Coors Field instead.
Okay.
Um, I did read an interesting article, separate from this one, I think yesterday, that the move that they disagreed with the move because really the population of Atlanta is very highly African American, and the influx of sort of business and economic impact you would get from having the All Star Game would be really good for them, and that moving it is not a good idea because you're going to impact them negatively economically for not having the All Star Game. I'm not sure if I fully buy the argument, but it was an interesting argument nonetheless.
I suppose that could be true. Like theoretically, you would think it would be true. You get more tourism, I guess, coming through at the time of the All Star Game. That is true, but at the same time, which is more important is what you would have to define.
Yeah, and also, well, I'm sure there are plenty of African American run businesses in downtown Atlanta and around the stadium, wherever the stadium is. I don't know. I mean, you're also giving plenty of revenue and tourism to these mostly wealthy white people who are probably in favor of this voting law, to be honest.
Possibly. We don't know that, but possibly. That's a possibility. That voting law is just...
It kind of spins both ways. When I saw this, I was basically saying, hey, good on you, MLB. Georgia passed this new asinine voting law that's I mean, they're mad that the state flipped blue and that their 2 senators went blue as well because there was huge voter rights activism and, yeah, some people in Georgia who were really proactive in getting more people to vote this time around, which caused the state to, flip Democratic and vote for Joe Biden instead of Trump, and which a state which has very historically been a red
Red
state.
state. Yep.
Um, and it was still a slim margin. Biden won by what, like 10,000 votes, somewhere around there,
It
maybe
was it was really
20,000.
slim.
It
Yes.
was pretty slow. It was very slim.
Yeah.
Um,
It was.
and yeah, I mean, I don't know.
No,
So yeah,
I just want to point out also that the NBA did this in the past as well. In North Carolina, the All Star Game was supposed to be in Charlotte. The MLB, not the MLB, the NBA moved the All Star Game from Charlotte. This was some time ago. The 2017 All Star Game in Charlotte, because it objected with a House bill from Charlotte. It was targeted I think it was targeted at the LGBT community. I forgot what the specifics were, but the NBA did this too. The NBA had done this too, and the again the full details. It's like I remember when it happened because it was a pretty big deal when it happened for the NBA. Again, it was. I wish I'd remember. It was the bathroom thing. Yes, it was the bathroom thing. It was the trans bathroom issue, and there was like a bill that was in the North Carolina House, and the NBA opposed it. And the NBA opposed it and said, "Okay, we're moving the All Star Game because we're not okay with this." And they did the same thing. So this is not like this hasn't happened before,
not unprecedented territory.
Exactly, politics, these kinds of things. These leagues, they see that and they take action. They do several things, and the NBA moved their All Star Game too. I don't remember where they moved it to.
Yeah, they don't have to, but a lot of these leagues have very high population of people of color that are players in these leagues. Like baseball's probably has the most like Caucasian people.
Maybe hockey. Hockey will always win that. Hockey will always win.
Hockey wins that, but I don't know. At least I don't really follow hockey, so I don't really think about hockey as a major sport, even though it is. I know it's very popular, but I don't.
It's one of the big sports, yeah.
Follow hockey. But yeah, compared to like the MLB or sorry, the NBA or the NFL, there's a lot more white guys in the
right.
MLB.
There's these leagues, as they should, have an invested interest in trying to be respectful and protective of
and supportive
of
players,
everyone, as much as they can, because it affects everybody. And when these things happen in politics with North Carolina and now with Georgia, yeah, of course the league's going to be like, hey, it's very clear who this is affecting when you pass these things.
It's quite obvious who you are targeting with this new.
Oh, it's super obvious.
We're not okay with it.
It's super obvious. It's like it's unbelievable how obvious it is, and you're just like, wow. Why don't you just put "We are racist" on the bill? Just say
stamp it on the bill.
We are racist. There you go. It's like it's very clear.
We don't want black people to vote.
It's like, well, okay, wow, just you might as well just put we don't like black people on the bill. Just write it there. You might as well, because that's what it says. So, me personally, I think I know you talked about that other article. I'm glad that leagues do this. Sometimes leagues mess up, but when they don't mess up, like in this case, I think this is good. You send the message. I understand it could affect the economy, the local economy of Atlanta, where the All-Star Game is being held, but at the same time,
they're sending a message.
You have to say, look, we're trying to be supportive of our players and of these groups that our players represent, and when you do these things, it's a slap in the face. And Atlanta obviously was like, it wasn't our decision, you know, and we're sad that you're not doing the All Star game here. It's like, you're right, it's not your decision.
Well, yeah.
But
no, it's the MLB's decision.
But there are consequences to things, and you're unfortunately the victim of this consequence. Atlanta Braves. It's just these things can happen. So, again, personally, good that they moved it. I was happy when the NBA moved their All Star game. When North Carolina did that, I'm happy here as well.
Yeah, I agree.
When bad people pass bad things, you have to tell them they're bad people.
Yeah, I see the argument that other article that I mentioned was making, but I don't 100% agree with it. I think that this is the better outcome, that the MLB just says, no, we're not okay with this, so we're gonna move.
Right. I agree with it. And obviously, you know, the Braves had nothing to do with the voting bill or anything like that, but at the same time, the consequences happen. You know, the Charlotte Hornets had nothing to do with the bill as well, and I don't think the Charlottes were as upset. The Hornets were upset though. I think Michael Jordan and the Hornets were like, "Oh yeah, we understand." Okay. I don't remember. It might have not been like that, but I distinctly remember like the Hornets not like reacting really badly when that happened.
Yeah.
So
that would be a good another show of good faith try if they did that.
That would be very nice. Be very nice, but anyway, okay. The Hornets, they were pretty. I mean, they were 2017. I think they were pretty bad at that time. So they've been pretty bad for some time, but nothing compared to the one Bobcats year where they didn't even win 10 games. That was like might have historically been one of the worst sports teams in the history of sports. Might have been. Okay, but that's a different topic. That's a different topic. They don't hold a candle to my Timberwolves. My Timberwolves are bad in a special way. Let's talk about Outriders. Unless we have anything else to add.
I did add one more thing
Go
to
ahead.
the doc. I'm sorry. I did it last minute.
Oh, you did. Okay, we're going backwards.
Oh,
the EA thing. Okay, got it.
Yeah. No, E3.
E3. Whatever. Same thing. It's different. It's different, but whatever. Go ahead. E3 2021 plans announced. Xbox and Nintendo involved. No sign of Sony.
Okay. So there was like a rumor on Twitter, I think the end of last week or maybe over the weekend. Someone posted like E3 is going to be all online and you're going to have to pay to watch it. And that was it was not true at all. Well, part of it is true. E3 is going to be entirely online.
Okay, good.
But it's going to be free if you want to watch it.
That would have been stupid if they made you pay for it. It would have been really bad. All right.
And yeah, I mean, it's going to be June 12th to the 15th, so middle of June. That's the time that it always is.
Okay.
And they just start listing a bunch of companies that have basically confirmed to be present and have some sort of presentation or be part of it in one way or another. So usual suspects: Nintendo and Microsoft. We've got Ubisoft, Capcom, Konami, Take-Two, Warner Brothers. And Sony is completely absent, but
no surprise.
Sony's just doing their own thing, and they have been for a while. They just don't care.
Sony might be the snobbiest just gaming company you'll ever see. They might be the snobbiest. It just, that's how they are. I don't know how to explain any further. Just so snobby about everything.
I mean, I bet you Sony will just do their own event, like a state of play or whatever.
I'm sure they
call
will.
It like it won't be part of the official E3 thing, but it'll probably be like right around the same time. They'll probably just do their own thing.
Not surprising if they did. I've noticed Ubisoft isn't in here, by the way.
Ubisoft is there.
Are they? Where are they?
Nintendo,
Oh,
Xbox,
these are
Capcom,
missing
Konami, Ubisoft.
companies. I'm sorry, these are missing companies.
Yeah,
There it
EA and
is.
Activision are not on there. Sega, Bandai Namco, Square. I mean, there's a lot of
EA always
missing.
does its own thing. EA does its own thing. They've
Yeah,
been doing it
EA
for
is
the
gonna
past
do its
couple
own
years.
thing. Square seems like they're doing their own thing
Yep.
now.
Sega,
Namco, maybe, I don't know.
Tencent,
Activision.
505. 505.
Yeah, that one I don't know.
Activision Blizzard does their own thing. They'll do their own thing, of course. Tencent, oh man. Can't wait to hear about the Tencent games like Valorant. Alright.
So yeah, I mean, E3 was canceled last year. It's nice to see that it's back this year. I mean, I've heard, I don't know. I've been hearing this for a while. People have been saying that, like, E3 is just not the same as it used to be. It's kind of on a downturn. There's so many other conventions nowadays that, like, E3 just isn't as big a deal. Apparently, at least when they had an actual convention, booth space at E3 was just ludicrously expensive compared to
Oh, I'm sure.
any other event. And
I'm sure it is. It's like the times that, I've gone a couple, I would say like twice. A couple times because they let the public in. And I gotta say, like, it's cool walking around E3 and seeing all the new cool stuff, but if you ever want to play certain video games there, you're shit out of luck.
you're gonna stand
Kingdom
in line for
Hearts
hours.
3, the
Stood in
line,
line like all day.
it was 2.5 hours
Yeah, for like a 20-minute demo or
for a
something.
20-minute demo. It was fun. I enjoyed the demo, but it was 2.5 hours, and it was like, that was the one game I really got to play and sit in line for. That was it, basically. It was fun. I really liked it though. And the event, the space, and everything it's great. It really is like great to just walk around and see these things. But yeah, I don't know like what group's saying, or E3's going downhill. But it's just like, okay, well, fine. I still
I mean,
enjoy it.
I still enjoy it. And it's always, I don't see it going anywhere. But the point is that there's so many other conventions nowadays, and it's especially with the more digital events becoming, well, basically required now with the pandemic. But even before that, Nintendo had been doing Nintendo Directs for a while, and other companies had started doing digital events. I think some companies are starting to say, like, why should we do E3 when we can just do our own thing, right?
It's definitely less expensive.
Yeah, it's way less expensive to just do your own thing than be a part of E3.
The one thing that this time has shown a lot of these groups, again, like Activision Blizzard in particular, it's really cheap to do stuff online like this. And
Yep.
by comparison, I mean, I'm sure it's not that cheap, but it's cheaper by comparison. And so they realize this and go, wait, why do we do in-person stuff anymore?
Yeah, why would we spend money to, like, rent out a booth at E3 and set up all these demo stations and hire
Right.
people to help with the demo and ask questions and, booth babes and all this other nonsense that,
My favorite booth babes thing. By the way, they had this in was it E3 or it might have been E3 or something else. My favorite booth babes moment. No, it might have been a TwitchCon. Razer had a booth. And Razer, they like I was like, "Oh yeah, Razer, cool." So I kind of walked by it. It was like so obvious that they just like I'm fairly certain, obviously they probably didn't do this. But like, this was their hiring for that booth. Are you hot? Yes? Okay, you're hired. It's just like front and center, immediate on the booth. Booty shorts with midriff, just like good looking.
Yep. And cleavage, for sure.
Good looking women. That was it. There were I don't think there was a single man at that booth.
Are you attractive and willing to wear skimpy clothing?
And they were attractive. They were attractive. There was no doubt. They were attractive. But I think there actually were new rules put in place about this stuff now at conventions where they can't do that anymore. But yeah, like that one Razer booth, I was just like, I still remember that. I was like, wow, you just didn't even hide it, did you? It's just like, Yeah, they're hot. I get it, but you just didn't even hide. Like some of the other booths that kind of like maybe do a better job of hiding it. No, they were just like, no. We just went for the hottest people we could hire. It was so ridiculous. They're new. No, like I think there was one or two things I saw. This was some time ago, so I just like it's been a while, but they're like you can't do that. They can't do that at booths. They can't just go for booth babes. They can't do that. There's like something I saw. It was some time ago. I don't remember which conventions they did it at, but yeah, that one Razer booth was the funniest. I was like, all right, really? Like, come on. We get it. They're hot, but come on. So, anyway.
Yep. So yeah, I mean that's it for this. E3's coming back this year in a couple months, and we'll see what's on offer.
Yeah, I'm hoping we get some good looks at some some upcoming titles. Here's what I hope though. I hope Ubisoft doesn't show an Assassin's Creed game. I hope they come out and say we're going to take another year off. That's what I hope. I hope they take another year off. They need another year off. Hopefully. They probably won't.
Valhalla was not your favorite, I know.
No, it wasn't. Still haven't finished it. What are you, like 200 hours in? Like 200 hours in? I still haven't finished it. I should reinstall it though soon. I'm getting there. The any other stuff on E3 coming back June 12th to 15th? I assume that's No, Nintendo will have something for
I think they'll show Breath of the Wild too at E3. To be honest, I think that's when they're gonna come out with it.
They will, and Twitter's gonna explode, being like Nintendo won. It's just like okay, all right, okay. Then let's talk about some other things.
Yep.
Let's talk about. We've been playing a lot of Outriders lately.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Outriders. For those of you that don't know what Outriders is, Outriders is Square Enix's answer to we can do better than Marvel's Avengers. We promise. And People Can Fly is the developer?
Yep.
Yeah, People Can Fly. They
made Bulletstorm, and they might have had one other game in there that I don't remember. But Bulletstorm came out while we were in college, so they had to have one other game in there between then.
I fondly remember Bulletstorm in college, but not for the best of reasons. We will skip that story. Bulletstorm was enjoyable though for what it was.
It was enjoyable for a bit. It got old kind of quick, to be honest.
Oh yeah, of course.
It was an interesting concept.
It was great for a couple hours. It was really great for a couple hours.
It was fun for a couple of hours, and then you realize it was just
still going
competitive.
It's like,
there wasn't a lot to it.
This is still going? Okay. So Outriders is a third-person looter shooter game that has a heavy story campaign emphasis compared to other looter shooters that I've played in particular. Borderlands, of course, is it definitely like they have their campaign, and it's of good length. But like, for example, what I'm specifically referring to is like Division 2. Division 2 was hardly a story. And Destiny 2, or Destiny, which again, Anthem, yeah. Hardly a main campaign story. But the lore is where it was all at, right? But Outriders is supposedly a 30 to 40 hour campaign. It's like a full story. It's a story of how many door opening cutscenes we can fit into a game, how many 2-second cutscenes we can fit into a game. It's got, you can play up to 3 players co-op. There's supposed to be cover mechanics in the game, but you like never really use cover except for a few exceptions. And the loot, there's plenty of loot to be had within the game, plenty of different quests and side quests. Your level cap is 30. The skill tree, 4 classes with a fairly expansive skill tree, and I don't remember how many skills each class gets. It's like 8 to 10. I forgot. Something like that. But
Yeah, eight sounds about right.
yep.
7 or 8.
You can play as a the pyro character, the mage, the pyromancer, the technomancer, which is your long range kind of specialist type. It's supposed to be kind of a support type, but it's not a support type at all. That's the
Nothing is
DPS class.
nothing is a support
Yeah,
type in this game.
yeah.
Everyone is just
There's the trickster, which is a close range specialist type with some pretty interesting like space time powers. And then there's the devastator, the class that is that you're the tank. You're the tank, and apparently, from what I've been seeing and hearing, is the least DPS focused class, the lowest damage output by comparison to the other three. So that's the basic rundown of Outriders. We've talked about the story before, but it's a pretty straightforward story so far. Your character was in cryo and wakes up to a war torn um planet that we've colonized.
trying to colonize a new planet after Earth was destroyed. Stuff goes wrong with the initial drop in and colonization. There's this anomaly that they call it, this big electromagnetic storm that's like trapping them in a particular area, and it's just all out war
Right.
over the little resources that exist, basically.
Your character and a few others are end up getting tagged with this altered identity. You have powers. You have space magic. Okay.
Yep, you get your space magic from the anomaly somehow. Somehow you got hit by the anomaly and you don't
You
die, unlike other people. But
you developed space magic.
yeah, you get space magic.
Some interesting tidbits from the game. Apparently, this was the planet they intended to colonize, but the planet seemed to be really good initially. There was like some dialogue with the professor, and he mentioned kind of pretty quickly in this dialogue sequence, but it was an important tidbit. They estimated that this was a great planet to colonize, and when they exited, their space travel to get to this planet, this anomaly occurred sometime between when they left and when they arrived. That was what they apparently said. They did like an initial scanning, and then when they got here, the anomaly was here, and they didn't know it existed until before then. They were like, they can't explain what it is, but it happened sometime in the 87 years between scanning the planet and arriving at the planet. So interesting little tidbit that I think is really important to the story of this game. It's, at least I would hope it is, like figuring out and discovering what happened in the 87 years seems to be the central identity, as well as getting out and trying to find more space for your pals to inhabit this lush green planet that's supposed to be colonizable. So that's like the general setting and synopsis so far that we've gotten through. So let's focus on each of our impressions so far of our experience playing the game. So, at least for me, I just want to focus on one thing to start. And we mentioned this when I was streaming the game when we were playing co-op. I think this game could have used about 2 more months in the oven. There's some definite connectivity issues. There's some definite server issues. There's issues regarding crashes that I don't know if they've patched out or had any additional patches to the game to fix it. But I know like our first 6 hours of play produced over 6 crashes. So that's pretty telling. I also think that like there's some other potential issues with there's a couple bugs that are apparent within the game as well as we were playing. I think it could have used 2 more months in the oven.
Yeah, I would say that this game has an incredibly solid foundation. You could see what they're going for with the gameplay. The gameplay is generally very fun. It's fast paced, it's frantic, it's all about spamming your skills and killing as much stuff as possible. there's no way to heal other than by damaging and killing stuff. Weapons have like life leech, and your
Right.
skills have life leech, and every class has a different way of healing. For the pyromancer, it's anytime you hit an enemy with a skill, they get marked by you, and if you kill them while they're marked, you heal. Um,
Right.
and most of the classes have a similar one where it's either by dealing damage or killing things at a certain range or when using your skills or something along those lines.
Correct.
Um, so yeah, it's best to play aggressive. As you said, the cover is like it exists, but honestly, if you're using it, you're kind of playing the game wrong, to be
Yeah.
honest. Like I I was watching Drop Frames this morning, and they were talking about it, and they're like, "Yeah, if you're using cover, like you're playing the game wrong. Like you don't need to use cover in this game. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like you just
The
kill stuff."
I had mentioned this early on when I was playing, but it seems like the cover mechanics were built into the game early, and then they started developing the game more and more. And I think somebody probably on the design side of the game realized, these cover mechanics aren't really needed at all. We're not going to flush them out any further. We're not going
They
to
just
flush out the game any further in regards to cover mechanics. I think somebody started with the idea of cover mechanics, they implemented it, and then they just forgot about it because the design of the game changed. Like all the sequences with human combat, there's cover, but anytime you get into a sequence against monsters or things like that, there's no cover whatsoever.
I'll say like early on in the game before you start getting going with like your loot and your gear, I used cover a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
When
Right.
you're like primarily just sort of gunfighting with enemies, and you didn't have much in the way with your abilities.
Yeah.
They had kind of long cooldowns, and you could they didn't do a lot of damage. So
Right.
early on in the game, you use cover a lot, but once you get to like mid game and late game, it's just yeah, just spam your abilities and do
Yeah.
as
You're
much damage, and
you're
kill as much stuff as you can.
some of your characters, like the Devastator and the Trickster, your movement changes completely. It's like when you start the game, your movement is very simple running, and so cover kind of makes
Yeah,
sense. It's a very simple game to start. But then like as the Devastator, for example, you get this like gravity leap ability where you go into the air and then just like it slam into an enemy like across the screen. What your movement fundamentally changes completely, and the way you play changes from level 1 to once you get like certain abilities at like level, we'll say level 6 for now. It just like it changes. So I think somebody, a designer, said when they first pitched the idea, let's do cover, let's do something with Gears of War cover mechanics, and then like sometime further into the development of the game when they were actually getting into play testing, like serious play testing periods, they realized, okay, like cover doesn't even like help at all at a certain point. You just like it doesn't really do that much. It does something when you're dealing with snipers, yes, and it occasionally is helpful to just like prevent yourself from soaking all the enemy's damage at once. But
yeah,
for the most part, you're just like running around all over the place and using and spamming abilities within your movement. The cover just becomes a non-factor at a certain point. I, I don't think it's a bad thing that that's the case. It's just it's weird. It makes me think. Okay, well, if they ever do like a second game, do they just get rid of the cover mechanics completely and they just all right,
yeah.
screw it?
Either that or the cover. I don't know. I feel like it could be the other way around, where they started with like no cover and it worked really well for late game, but then when they like did early game, they were like, "Oh, this doesn't really work because so we need some sort of cover."
Right.
Or I don't know. I'm not sure.
It
Or maybe they were just like, "Oh, we're a third-person shooter, so we need to have some sort of rudimentary covered mechanic because we're a
yeah.
third-person shooter."
It's
Like, and that's what third-person shooters
right.
do. So
Yeah. It's not bad. The cover mechanics aren't horrible.
it's fine.
Sometimes they don't work properly, but they're not
Yeah.
bad. I personally feel.
Occasionally, there are things that you feel like you should be able to take cover behind, and you just can't. And I'm like,
Yeah.
why can't I take cover
Yeah.
behind this? I don't understand.
Yeah, that
Or there are
happens.
things that you should be able to like take cover and like vault over, but you just can't. It's
You
just
just
like, why
can't.
why
Yeah.
can't I vault over that? I don't understand. But
Yeah,
so
that definitely happens on occasion for me. I'm like, why can't I just take a step up here?
yeah.
The that occurs. What else? I
Yeah. I
I'm
think that
trying.
I like the found also but going back to this game having good foundations. I like the foundation of like the world and the lore. I think is really cool,
Mhm.
but like the execution of the story and the dialogue is just like oof. I don't I don't
I
know.
I can't decide if I like the fact that the character doesn't care about anything and it's just like it it feels I can't tell if
Yeah.
I like it or if I think or if I don't. I think it's real that the character. It's actually more realistic to me that the character is like this. It's more realistic to me that this character has
He's just so
absolutely.
he's so apathetic.
You
You
just have no
just
connection.
no just
There's
don't
no
care.
connection. Why would you care about any of these things that you have no connection to? You've been in cryo for 31 years, I believe, is the
But yeah,
exact
he's
year
still
amount.
like continuing to help them out regardless of not caring like
Yeah, I mean,
or
like
acting like he doesn't care.
this is true. I think that part of it. I think they needed to add in more reward. I do like in some of the cases where we played recently, and the guy who was trying to blow up the mining facility because they killed all of his like compatriots. The character helping that person, I actually I kind of get that. It's like, look, your main character gives no fucks, just completely gives no fucks about anything. But there are some cases where you see this helpless person and he's on his the person this character is on his last legs and he's like, I just want to blow this place up and tie it all off. I could get like even a character just like not having any empathy towards almost anybody, just seeing that and going, you know what,
I'm gonna
fine,
help this guy
I'll
out.
help
Help
you.
this guy out.
Like, fine, I actually get that.
He's gonna die anyways. I'll just help him out.
I'll just help him out. Like, even with no reward. I think in more cases, some of the side quests should have like the character, the dialogue should produce a reward. But
Yeah.
like the hunt quests, you kind of understand. It's like, hey, if you hunt these people down, I'll give you a reward. The beasts make sense. You hunt them down, I get a trophy, and you get a reward. Like, some of them are transactional, which makes sense. But and again, that guy being the case of like, there's no transaction being had. You just want to make sure this guy's last wish is fulfilled. I like that actually. I really do. Um, what I don't like is the side quests that end up not producing any fulfilling end result. I think you know of a couple off the top of your head, but there are just some where you go through the side quest, you get to the end point, and do you remember the one early on in the game where you're trying to save this guy from like this like bunker basically, and you
Oh
you
yeah.
pull him out. The guy ends up shooting the
Yeah.
insurgent enemy,
That
and then
that
he gets shot,
they were helping each other like get out of the pit. Yeah.
and then the other guy dies right after he kills the other guy. Not fulfilling at all. Not a good
Yeah.
side
That
quest.
that one was stupid.
There's a handful of those that occur. Those are not good side quests. People can fly. If you were to do more side quests and DLC content in those and side quests in that content, you need to understand that like when you do a side quest and it's got no fulfillment at the end of it because you haven't like there's no outcome there. It's just like, okay, well, I didn't save anybody. I just sort of ran around and killed some folks, and the person I was supposed to save just I didn't save him. So what was the point of that?
Yeah.
There's a lot
And
of moments like that.
they just like and I guess maybe it's supposed to show like the savagery of the world that like even if you know do a good deed or maybe save someone that any fleeting second they could just get taken out because this place sucks. But
I think that's fair. I think that's a
and
fair assessment.
and we see this throughout the story too. You'll like meet a character and then like 3 seconds later they just get shot in the face and they're dead. It's like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. But here's another example of things that like there's a lot of weird, nonsensical design choices like that. The side quest thing, that was one comment I wanted to make. You made several comments when we played together. The side quest door to get to the end, there's like a big room. You finish the fight in the room, and then you go through a door, and there's the reward, and then there's nothing else in there but the reward thing. Like, well, why not just put the reward in the same big room that we finished the fight? Why do we have to go through the door, get the dumb cutscene, grab it, and then come back out? There's like some weird decision making.
Yeah. No, like
It's
we went through a hatch to get into like a bunker, and then we were in the bunker, and we had to go through another door and watch another 2 second door opening cutscene, or skip another 2 second door opening cutscene. and then grab the end goal of the quest, whatever
Right.
it was. I don't know, some
I don't know.
files or whatever it was.
Yeah, whatever.
And then that was the end of the quest, and we teleported out. Well, like, why did we have to go through that second door? We already went
Right.
through a hatch to go through a loading screen to get.
Yeah.
I don't understand
It
why.
again, not hard to understand the decision making process or the thought process. Yeah, just the general thought process of, oh yeah, let's just make them through this door and then come back out and there's like a cutscene. It's like, well, why not just put it inside the room that we finished the fight in and save us the like 20 seconds we had to do to get through all that? Like, that's a time waster that makes no sense.
Why do I have to talk to Jakob every time I
Oh
want to
god.
fast travel to another like section, like area of the map?
Right.
You can fast travel to the different flags within like the area that you are in, but if you want to go to a different area, you have to fast travel back to the camp and then talk to Jakob and tell him, "Hey, we want to go to this other area." Why can't I just fast travel to that other area without talking to Jakob? I
I
don't
don't know.
understand.
I don't know. Can I talk about Jakob for a second?
I hate him.
I hate him too. He's the worst character in this game. He's by far and away the worst character. I kind of liked him at the start. Now I hate him. All he does is complain. He's annoying. The fact that I have to go to him to travel somehow triggers me against him. He's just like,
And then he acted like he like cared about that girl, the fortune teller girl, and then they just had like a fight in a cutscene, and they just hate each other's guts. And he's like, "Well, I don't care," and then she's like, "I don't care," and I don't understand like that relationship and what's going on there. And
I don't get it.
here's my thing. Okay, here's my thing with the story and the characters. One, the dialogue is very cringy most of the time. I'm going to be honest, and they just drop way too many f bombs. Like, I'm okay with cursing.
It's
Obviously,
too
in a world
much.
like this, we're gonna have a lot of cursing, but they drop the f bomb like once a sentence. Basically, it's a little unnecessary.
Certain characters
Um,
do it a lot, and I don't like it. Not just because like I'm of the language, but like,
and again, I heard
yeah.
it described this way on Drop Frames, but the story is like it's like a B movie story and dialogue. Kind of. It's, like, very over the top and ridiculous. My problem with that, like, analogy is that I feel like they're not self-aware that it's bad. I feel like they're trying too hard, and they
Mhm.
just shoulda gone with, like, memes and, like, knowing it's bad and making it B-movie-ish and bad because it's stupid.
Yeah.
And I feel like in some of these cutscenes, they were just trying way too hard with the story, and it just falls really flat for me. I don't know.
It
I
it's
don't like it. I really don't.
I I actually I don't think I hate the dialogue as much as I think you hate it. I think it's okay. I don't mind B movie stuff, by the way. Like, B movie stuff can actually be like good, like junk food to digest.
It can be entertaining.
Yeah, it can be entertaining. And like, there are occasions where this game, yes, it's over the top. But again, I want to circle back to the guy that blew the mine. I like that sequence a lot. That whole sequence should have been the whole game. Like, everything
No,
about that
I
sequence
agree
was
with you.
really good.
That side quest in particular was pretty good, but that was one side
That
quest
was
out of
one,
like
right?
20 to 30 we've done so far. I mean, some of them are just hunts and those have no story to them,
Right,
and that's
right,
fine.
right.
But most of the other ones we've done are either just like in the middle where they're just kind of throwaway. They're like, okay, this was a fetch quest, side quest, and that's it.
Right.
Or on the bad side, like the other one you talked about earlier, where the guy just died at the end and it was like, okay, what the hell was the
Yeah, yeah,
point
yeah.
of that? I don't
No, 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 no. I'm simply illustrating the fact that, yes, the okay. First off, we personally haven't seen the whole story yet. I don't know
True.
if it is a B movie, but
No, yeah.
like, so far the plot is like very much, the straightforward plot is essentially we're trying to solve a mystery at this point. We're just trying to solve a mystery. All the other people like that we encounter, like Seth and Malik and all those other garbage characters, like, who cares? It's a speed bump in the search of figuring out what is the anomaly. That's all we're trying to figure out. This is a mystery.
What
Okay,
is the anomaly and how do we
how do you fix it?
get away from it or fix it?
Exactly.
Like,
What's going on? And that's the mystery. Okay, we don't have any other. We don't get anything else on top of that besides that mystery. We don't really get the main clues that we get actually come from the professor. Basically, this professor basically clues us in on anything we need. that's major to the story, in my opinion, with just this anomaly. Like all the other stuff with whatever her name was, the officer, like Shinra or whatever. Her story's done. Like I feel like we're not even involved with her anymore. We're just focused on figuring out this mystery. So the plot is a mystery, and I don't think we have enough context to determine if the mystery is fulfilled yet. All we know is we've seen one altered Seth who's like, he's like, be the shepherd for these people. Really? There's no really good and he's like, I have a vendetta against this other altered, which by the way he never fulfills. He gets killed by the other altered. So it's just like,
yeah, he gets killed off screen. You just find his dead body
he's just dead
in a pit, which was
super unfulfilling.
Yeah.
Super unfulfilling.
Oh, also there's a prophecy now because one of the characters is like a fortune teller or something, and she has visions. And
she has visions.
You're the chosen one. You lead the people to the promised land.
I don't even care anymore. Whenever I see that, I just ignore it now. I'm just like, okay, this is stupid. I'm moving on. Her character Channa. Also, I want to mention something about her. There hasn't been a lot of like quote unquote romantic moments. I'm actually surprised with a game like this, with this kind of like B-movie type dialogue. There isn't a lot of like sexual interactions in the game. I'm shocked, actually. There's one with the Lucy side character who's clearly a prostitute.
Yeah, she's a prostitute.
But that's it.
Well, it's because your character just doesn't care.
Yeah, she doesn't care.
Like even that side quest with the prostitute, she's like, "Hey, can I do any of your favors?" Your character's like, "Nah,
I'm good. I'm good.
Like,
nah, I'm good." Right. That was literally
that was the line. That was the line. It was I'm good.
I feel like I've honed in on this character after that. I'm like, wow, that was me senior year of high school and freshman year of college. It's like people just saying like, you want to do anything? Like, nah, I'm okay, thanks. I'm busy. It's like just like the oblivious, like I don't care nature it's resonating with me, that's for sure. But this Channa character, she's the one that's the prophet. She's the oracle. Okay, she's our oracle for the story. Because whenever you lose inspiration on your narrative or your story, you immediately go to prophecy. That because it's like it's like there's a book that's called like Lazy Story, and like one of them is prophecy. It's always prophecy. That's why for my god tier stories in D&D, for example, I don't touch prophecy because it's the laziest, frankly dumbest plot arc addition in any. I hate it so much. God, I hate it so much. If you say prophecy in a story, it's like I fall asleep. I'm immediately out.
Auto's checked out. Now.
It's like
you use prophecy.
It's like, wow, way to just hit the lazy button there. But this character, back to the like, again, this is a B movie. Like I kind of expected this to have more like weird sexual interactions. This Channa character gives your character the biggest fuck you look. And like, I want to have sex with you look. Yeah. Or like, I want to be with you look. And it's just like so obvious. And it's weird because it's like the first time she sees you, it's just like you can immediately get it. It's just like that's like I was like kind of weirded out by it. It was a little bit off. It was a little off just because so far the only proposition your character has had is from the prostitute. Nobody else has really provided any sort of interest in you. But this one Channa character immediately hones in on you and is like, she gives you just this look, and you're like, you as the player just know, you're like, wow, just okay. You're just undressing me with your eyes already. Oh yeah, it's pretty like. I'd be surprised if there wasn't something at the end where it's just like, I don't think this game is gonna have like that weird, or not weird, but like that romance sequence with any characters. But if it did, it would be between your character and Channa. It would literally be that. There's a lot of tension already. That was the one other character. I don't mind her, the Oracle character, actually. I don't really mind her.
She's alright.
She's basically a slave, so her being kind of like an asshole and angry makes sense. I just don't like Jakob. That's it. Only character I haven't liked so far is Jakob. He's the only one.
He does nothing. He just drives the stupid truck. That's all he does.
Yeah, that's true. That's all he does, is he drives the truck. And
I could have picked any dude to drive the truck. It doesn't have to be Jakob. Or any dude or any chick to drive the truck.
Yeah, no, it's true. But again, he's the only character I don't like. Every other character that we've met, either I'm indifferent with, or I just, yeah, I think is
Most
okay.
most of them I'm indifferent.
Yeah,
I
most I'm
don't I
indifferent.
don't
That's
think I
fair.
like I don't think I like any of the characters, I'll be honest. Like Shanna, maybe she's growing
He's
on me a
alright.
little bit.
He's
She's
alright.
okay. She's probably the best and she's eh.
Yeah.
Um yeah, I just feel like they
The
as I
professor's
said,
okay. Can I say the professor's okay? Can I say he's okay? He's not like
I-
dumb or anything. Like
he's there.
he's like, okay, you mod my equipment. You're okay.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I just as I said, I I just get the feeling with the story and the dialogue, God, they're just trying so hard and it's just not hitting. It's just not hitting for me. I'm like,
Right.
I'm kind of interested in the mystery, but yeah, and I guess maybe in some cases they're going for like shock factor, but the rate at which they've killed off characters just kind of unceremoniously is kind of
It's annoying.
annoying. Yeah.
It's
That like
annoying.
that sniper lady, when you met the doctor just like got shot in the face and then or the neck,
The
the
neck,
throat and
yeah.
she died very soon
Seth,
after. And then yeah, Seth seemed like he was going to be an important character. He had like two cutscenes and a bunch of people talked about him for a while and then you just find him like
they
burnt to a crisp in a hole. It's
they
like,
freaking
okay.
talked him up a lot. They're like, oh yeah, Seth. Seth's the god. He's our like the god. He's gonna lead us. And he just freaking dies unceremoniously off screen. Like, can we at least see his fight with Moloch and then encounter Moloch or something? Like, it sucked. It sucked.
Yeah,
I
like
wanted
I mean
more.
I get what they're doing with it. They're trying to say like, oh man, yeah, you thought Seth was a badass? Nah, Moloch took that guy to school, dude. Like Moloch, he's your real bad guy. Like
But
I guess they're trying to pump up Moloch
I
by having
guess,
him just destroy Seth, but I
I don't
don't
know.
know. It
Um,
didn't work. It didn't work for me.
yeah,
Also, can we just talk about the cutscene direction in this game?
yeah. It's bad. That's
It's
it.
it, it's it's bad.
It's really bad. I again, somebody got paid per cutscene, and they went overboard, really overboard with it. They just when you open a door game, you don't need it to be a cutscene. Just open the door. Don't cutscene it. Don't transition to a cutscene. Open the door.
Well, or if you
Hard
need,
cuts. Oh yeah, go ahead.
or if it like I do think it is instance. It is like a loading screen. And I know you can skip it, but I'm more online that it's actually like sort of a disguised loading screen and that it's like more instanced because I don't see any other reason for it to be that way.
Okay.
It doesn't really make sense.
Okay then. Let's
And
talk. Then fine.
I mean, it's still stupid,
It's
but
still dumb. Yeah. The hard cuts in the cutscenes. Why? Why are there so many hard cuts? Like they're like a big explosion occurs like in the Malik fight at the end of the Malik fight. This giant
yeah.
explosion occurs and then it hard cuts in the middle of the explosion.
No, it like fades out halfway through the explosion.
Yeah.
Not even like hard cut. It's just like the explosion like starts, you kind of see like half of it, and then it just fades to black. You're like, wait, what? What just happened? I don't know what.
And then you
What's
wake
going
up
on?
and then you wake up and you meet Chan. You basically see Chana. She like apparently pulled you out of the rubble or something. She had a vision that you were in the rubble and pulled you out of it. I don't freaking know. But
They have the
those are
weirdest cuts and fade outs in the cutscenes. Sometimes the cutscene will end either right as a character is finishing their line or actually before they have finished saying their line. Like
yep.
they will start saying the last word of their line and it will just cut
It
before
just
they
cuts.
finish saying the line. Like,
All right. I didn't need to hear that last word. It's fine. Like weird.
I just don't understand.
I don't get that either. The hard cuts are weird. It's kind of funny. Now it's just gotten funny, but at
Oh
first
yeah,
you're like, what is going on?
I just laugh at it at this point, but it's still just like off-putting and like I've never seen this bad like cutscene direction in a game like ever.
Oh no, it is.
It's
It's just weird. I again, at this point it's funny, but before it was like weird. It was of course really weird. It's really consistent. Like that's the weird part.
Yeah, now you just know it's gonna happen, and when it happens, you just like, yep, there's you laugh.
Yeah,
You're
it's
like,
just
yep,
like,
there
all
there
right,
was again.
there, hard cut. There it is. Here's. Can we talk about one other thing? There's one other thing I wanted to talk about specifically with this game, and it's more of a. I I have a huge problem now with. I know it's a Square Enix published game. I'm just gonna assume People Can Fly is more of a Western developer though. I don't know
think
where
they're in
they're
like
located.
I,
Go
I
ahead.
I think I heard Poland. I want to say they're in like Poland or like Eastern Europe somewhere. I don't exactly know,
Let
but
me let me check their headquarters. Okay, Warsaw, Poland is where they're founded,
Poland.
and that's where the headquarters is. Okay, I'm. I realize that that's not like in the U.S. or anything like that, but I'm gonna just consider that like part of the West. Okay, I'm gonna add it as part of the West.
It's in Europe, so it's
It's
part
in
of the
Europe, so I'm
West.
just gonna
Yeah,
call it part of
yeah.
the West. Western developers recently, within, and I want maybe not that recent, but there's this trend now with Western developers, and I don't know who okayed the trend, but it's starting to. I think I've mentioned it in the past, and I'm bothered by it. Not all your main characters have to be snarky. I don't know what it is, but our main character, again, they're like the I don't care about a lot of things, but they're kind of snarky too. They've got like the I'm going to be a jokey Marvel-esque type of character. Western game developers, you're not Marvel. You're not. You don't have to make every main character kind of jokey. They don't have to be snarky. That's not a quirk that every single one of them needs to have. I don't know what it is, but it's happening. It happens all too often in these games that I keep seeing. There's like the snarky character making the weird side comments, like kind of being sarcastic in conversation. You don't have to have all of them do
But
that.
then being like really bland and uninteresting at the same
It's
time.
just like I don't need that in all my characters. I really don't. Can you just can you like make a different character that isn't snarky,
I
sarcastic, condescending, like I don't care attitude? Can we get something different? Like I've made fun of the like kind of like the JRPG characters because they're not all the same. Like obviously they're not all the same, but like there are certain tropes in JRPGs that do occur a lot. But I find more variety there
At
in
least
characters.
they're a character instead of like a blank slate self-insert that is just boring and apathetic, and
There's
occasionally they're snarky, but most of the time they're just annoying, and it's like, yeah,
I
I agree with you. I don't
I
like it either.
I'm seeing the trend. It's happening. It keeps happening for me. Like there are some games where that's not always the case, but even it even trickles into games where that's not their character identity. It really does. Like it's trickling into every game I'm playing. Let me take Ubisoft games for example. Let me take the Assassin's Creed games. Ivor, she can occasionally be kind of snarky and sarcastic and a little bit condescending. Cassandra from Odyssey, she can be a little bit snarky, condescending, and sarcastic occasionally. Can we get something that isn't that? Can I get something else that isn't that? Can I get a non sarcastic, condescending, snarky character? If it has any of those traits, that would be awesome. Just like none of those traits, just be something completely different. Why does it have to be that? It's like there's some guy in the boardroom that's got his notepad and they're like talking about the characters. Like, I didn't hear snarky, condescending, or sarcastic in those traits there. You're gonna need to add one or all three of those right now. Otherwise, you're fired. It's like I think it's an executive in the back room. He's like, no, my kids, they love the Marvel movies. You have to make a character like the Marvel movies. You have to make it like that.
You gotta make Tony Stark, dude. You gotta make a snarky, sarcastic asshole
Danny,
who thinks he's better than everyone.
Danny, like the executive, Tommy Dickstick is in the back, and he's like, no, my 13-year-old kid loves Marvel movies. We have to have a character that's like a Marvel movie. We have to. And Tommy, the thing is, Tommy's in a lot of he's in a lot of those meetings with the games, and he's also in meetings with DC. With the DC movies, he's like kind of in the background. He's like, no, just the Marvel movies. My kids saw the Marvel movies, so we have to make a game character like that. Like, no, you don't. You don't though. Like those are superhero comic movies. Like you can't take those that seriously. You can't. Like it doesn't work well. But with these games, like I kind of want some of them to be taken seriously. I want this game to be taken more seriously. It's trying really hard, but I want them to take it more seriously because I don't know. Like I don't think it's that ridiculous of a thing to like be like traveling through space trying to find other inhabitant habitats to colonize, and things happen on the planet you get to. Like, I don't actually think it's that ridiculous of a concept to warrant snarky attitudes all over the
No,
place.
no, it's not. And as I said, I liked the foundation. I liked the setup for the story, but the further I've got into it, the less I've cared because to me it feels like they're trying too hard and it's just not paying off
Right.
for me.
And
I don't know.
I wish Todd's stinky fart wouldn't constantly talk about his 14-year-old kid's enthusiasm about the Marvel movies. I swear to God, that's got to be it. It's got to be like, no, you don't get it. We have to do this because my 15-year-old son loves Marvel movies. So does my 10-year-old son. And it's just like, okay, but Marvel movies are just different. They're going to be different. They're going to be different. The Outriders should not have characters like the Marvel characters. I don't want a main character that's snarky in this game. I really don't, actually. I wish this character wasn't snarky because it feels like they're more of a military character. They should be far more disciplined and serious. I don't know what it is, why I feel that way, but the Outriders are like the big named group that everybody knows of, and they're like they're the group that's like they're the first people that touch down on the planet to survey. That's a serious thing. This group obviously has its serious implications when this group touches down on the planet and says, "Yeah, we're good to go. Colonize here." I just don't see a lot of snarky, like, silly characters in this group. I think this is a more serious group. Not to say that, like, people in that setting wouldn't, have, like, a fun side, but this character just, like, doesn't care about anything, and it's weird. Because the Outriders seems like a group that should care about a lot of things, because they're the ones that are giving the thumbs up on a lot of things, and they're important. It's just weird when they're snarky and they have that no fucks attitude. I don't mind it in this main character that much, but it's weird. It's weird coming from this kind of character or in this group where it's like it's weird. It's a bit strange. I will say, I would have liked them to be a bit more inquisitive, more serious, and I don't expect them to be like leadership type folks, but it's like I expect a certain personality from an Outrider, and it's not snarky, condescending, and sarcastic. It's not any of those. So I'm sick and tired of Executive Danny talking about his 12-year-old's fascination with Marvel movies, and he needs to stop it. He needs to stop right now and go watch something different or tell his kid to watch something different because I'm tired of seeing it in my games. I'm tired of seeing these characters like this. I wanted something new and different. It's not happening here. That's my rant on snarky, condescending characters in these games. It's too much now. It's too much now. Let's get something different in here.
So we've spent the better part of, I don't know, 20 to 30 minutes kind of bashing on the game. And
Yes.
all that being said, the game is actually really fun and I do like it. I don't think I could give it, at least this point, we haven't finished it and we haven't experienced the end game content yet either, so maybe that'll give it a bump. But for me, at least right now, if I had to score it right now, I'd probably be about a 7, maybe a 7.5. I think it's solid. I think it's fun. I think the foundation is really good, but it lacks a lot of polish. And again, for me, the story is kind of laughable so far, and like the cutscene direction is terrible.
Right.
Yeah, has a lot of
on.
other things that just lacks polish in a lot of areas, and there are a few things, mostly with the story, that I just don't like.
I think 7.5 is a good score, actually. I don't know if I'm there yet. I have to think about it a bit more, but I'll just go through all the things that I see in a game. The sound score in this game is pretty good. I like it a lot. The visuals are I like it. The visuals look good. Like the game looks pretty good. It's not
I can't
amazing.
say. I'm playing on low,
Yeah,
so like it doesn't look that great for me. So
yeah.
I'm not really gonna grade it on,
I'm
visuals. I think it looks decent for like on
yeah.
low. It doesn't look that bad. So
I'm
yeah, I'm good with
uh,
that.
I'm on a higher graphic setting. I think it looks pretty good. Not great, but looks good. I think the gameplay is fun. I do enjoy the
Yeah,
gameplay, all the
it's very
abilities and
fun.
the
It's
combat.
very fun.
It is very fun. So I'm bonus points to that. If it wasn't fun, I wouldn't be playing it. Um, I don't think the story's laughable. I just want more substance in it towards the mystery. So I'm hoping if it adds more substance to the mystery, that'd be great. I'm deeply concerned that Malik is going to be our final boss because he's boring. I'm deeply concerned. I think he's going to be the final boss. He's going to be some dumb big final boss enemy that's like super boring and I don't care about, and he'll be like he'll be it, and I'm annoyed that that's going to be it. I want them to figure out more about the anomaly and solve the mystery. So I'm not going to say it's stupid, but it's not there yet. The dialogue is okay, not great at all, but I haven't said it's horrible. I think it's okay. There's like certain
Yeah,
sequences that
I
are
wouldn't
good that I'm like giving it the benefit of, but
I wouldn't say it's horrible, but for me, it's probably slightly below average on the
okay,
dialogue. I don't really like
okay,
it.
okay. That's fair. I'm not going to contest that at all. So I mean like yeah, I need to see Endgame, but so far the for the campaign, I think it's more like an 8 because I'm having fun. So like I'm having fun, which is good. There's definitely problems. There's these there needs to be problems that are addressed. For specifically connection and like the servers, the connectivity is like a huge issue. I don't know if they've solved crossplay yet, but they need to fix that. I would like to play crossplay with other people, like Ian, for example. And I'm going to give it an 8. And if the mystery isn't solved satisfactorily, I'm going to give it a 7.5 or 7. But
Yeah,
I'm scared that
I
it's not.
with the technical issues and the crashes, I just cannot give this game an 8. Absolutely not. Like
Yeah, it's
it's too rough. The launch is too rough for me to give this game an 8.
it's again, the 8 is I find it to be generous, but I'm having a lot of fun. So that's my
Yeah.
main thing, giving
Y-
it an 8. Fun.
you can tell that like the gameplay vision for this game was like really good. That they really know what they're doing. They know how to design fun gameplay, and it's fast and it's frantic, and you feel really powerful. And apparently, when I heard this on Drop Frames today, when for the sponsored streams, when they were told like what to compare it to, like okay, people are going to compare it to Gears of War and Destiny and Borderlands, and but apparently the devs feel this game is like best compared. It's basically a third person Diablo where you're just like a meat grinder of a machine killing stuff. Um,
Okay, interesting comparison. Okay,
and I see it like you are an absolute killing machine if you have your build right. Like again seeing some clips from like late game of like co-soloing with the melee class, the what's it
trickster.
called, the
Yeah,
trickster. He's just teleporting all over the place, shotgun like 500,000, 500,000, 500,000. Like
yeah, that sounds like
he's
Diablo
just an
damage. Yeah,
absolute killing machine. I think the gameplay vision of this game is really good. And apparently there's some people complaining about balance, that like the balance is bad and blah blah blah. There is no balance. Everything's OP. Who gives a shit? There's no
everything's
there's no
yeah.
balance. Everything's overpowered. Great. Cool.
It's a
Let's all
P.
have fun and kill stuff.
It's a PVE experience. If it's
This
out of
game would not work
balance,
if they added PvP to this game. That'd be a terrible idea because
it
there's
wouldn't
no
work.
balance. No, this is
The
PvE. It's a PvE game. Yeah, and there is no balance because everything's OP. So
yeah,
there you go.
yeah, no,
Um,
yeah, it's a little, yeah. Of course, the balance is going to be weird, but it's not like, yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I think Endgame will shed some more light on it. But again, I've heard Devastator's the weak class, and Trickster and Technomancer seem to be really strong classes for damage. Pyromancer obviously is good too, but I've heard Devastator's the weak class. But even then, like it's weak, but it's still really strong. Like what? Who cares? Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I I could see Diablo comparisons working. I could see it. It's gonna naturally get Destiny comparisons. That's the first thing it's gonna get compared to. But Diablo works too. The damage outputs from this game, like the way that you scale up in your progression, it feels a lot more like Diablo actually. So I'm buying that comparison. That's a good comparison.
Yeah, and it's a little more RPG than
It
Destiny,
is.
for sure.
Destiny is an RPG is Omega lol. Oh my god,
They
they don't
they,
even.
they, they did away with that.
They're like, nah, we're good.
I feel like at first they like thought about it, and then the more they got, and the more they made it, and the more like they saw what their player base was going to be like. Nah, this is just basically an FPS with like
It's
some skills, and
it's an
that's it.
FPS game. It's literally an FPS game. That's all I have to say regarding Destiny 2. It's like there is one area it excels most, and it's the gunplay. That's it. Like Destiny
Yep.
2 has a lot of other good things, obviously, but the main feature of Destiny 2 has always for me been the gunplay. The gunplay is just like it, it's like unbelievably good.
Yeah. So Outriders, I would say, I overall it is a fun game. It's solid. It's definitely better with friends. I mean, Otto and I have just been playing together, so we don't really know what the solo experience is like. But it's one of those games that's kind of designed to be played co-op. So definitely recommend if you have friends that have it, play with them if you can. I'm not sure. I'm not regretting my decision to buy it for $60, but I'm not sure I would recommend buying this for $60. If you have Game Pass,
Good for
sure.
Game Pass. Good for Game Pass.
Great for Game Pass. If you have Game Pass, play it on that, and maybe wait a month or two for them to patch it a little more and iron out some of the crashes and the technical issues
Yeah.
that they've been having. It's been a bit of a rough launch, but as I said, the foundation is really good. The creative vision as far as the gameplay goes is really good. The game is quite fun to play. And you do feel very powerful, and you
Yep.
do, and the loot makes a difference. Like, you are constantly collecting more loot and getting better guns, and the numbers are scaling up like quite quickly. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I
They
don't know, a
are.
couple of levels ago, the firepower of my gun was like 1,000, and then like now that's trash, and I need like 2,000, 2,500 firepower on my guns,
Yeah.
and I
Things.
have like, I don't know, 700, 800 health, and again, from seeing clips of like he had like 18,000 health or
Yes.
something like that.
You.
So the the
It
lo-
goes
the
up crazy.
numbers really scale at the higher levels and in the end game, it seems like. But um,
It's
either way,
really yeah.
even at the low levels, the game is fun. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think that's about all I
Yeah.
have to say.
I again, I think it's good. Uh, Currently $60. I don't regret it. I'm just like having a lot of fun. I have a lot
Yeah,
of
I don't
fun playing
I,
co-op.
I don't regret
Um,
it either, but I'm not sure I would necessarily recommend it.
sure. I think if you have people to play with, I would say you can get it now and it's okay. You'll just deal with a couple crashes. The autosaves haven't been that bad from our experience, so it's not like you're going to lose a ton of progress. You may lose a little bit from crashing in the middle of combat, but it's not like not the worst thing. It's not like you're losing hours upon hours of progress. Um, so if you have someone to play with, I would do it. If you're just playing solo, I actually wouldn't buy this game right now. Because the connectivity would be a problem when matchmaking with randoms. I feel so.
Yeah, probably.
I would wait maybe about a month or two. Let's see if they patch these things, which they will. They'll have to. Um, but yeah, hopefully the end game is exciting and is a little interesting. It'll be interesting how many classes I end up deciding to play. I don't know if I want to do all four. That's like a pretty heavy commitment considering the story of this
It,
game.
it takes quite a while to get through the story and level up to
I
30. It
will
seems
say
like so.
you can. Here's another good Diablo comparison before we move any further into conclusion. I saw somebody who was low level, like around 10, go with a bunch of level 30s into the end game content. You can do that. You can just immediately jump into end
Just
game
power
stuff.
level.
You can power level. You can
Okay,
Diablo power level.
sure.
So might be a nice time saver. I'm sure you'll still have to go through the story, but you can power level and skip side quests if you want.
Okay, I mean that makes sense.
So that's something to think about. Okay. Any other thoughts on Outriders before we close out? Because I got class.
Nope, I think that's it.
Okay.
Game's pretty fun.
It is fun. If you like looter shooters or just third-person shooters, it's a good game. I again, it's enjoyable. So let's close this out with just final remarks. For next week, we may have a guest for the podcast. We'll update on that. We might have a guest next week. And movie night will be maybe more like movie day will be sometime this weekend. We'll watch Godzilla if anybody's interested. If not, that's okay. I'll just hang out and watch it myself. I'll enjoy the 45 minutes of monster fighting. And next Monday, I'll come on stream and we'll do like StarCraft 2 co-op or something like HOTS. I don't know. Just something very simple that I've, with HOTS done it before, but it'll be interesting to get back into it and see how things are going at this point in quick play of that game. So be sure to check out our videos on YouTube. Be sure to follow us on Twitch if you aren't already. All that's going to be in the description of the video that gets on YouTube. And thanks for watching. We will see you hopefully next week. And if you want to come to movie night, that'll be Saturday or Sunday. Time or day to be determined hopefully by tomorrow, which is tomorrow being Thursday the 8th of April. So have a good rest of your day and enjoy the rest of your week.
Yep. See ya.
Hey, everybody.